Hi guys, so today you guys are going to be making sketches for your mask design. You're going to start off with just some ideas. I would say, strive to fill a page or two up with little sketches. You can see these are just, tiny little sketches. I like to do, when I'm coming up with ideas for projects like this, I like to do these full page mini sketches first. If you don't like, if this is too much of a visual jumble for you, you can create little individual boxes and each thing can go in. I kind of like pages like this because part of the way that I make these pages is that I want to fill up the majority of the page. And it forces me to think about shapes, like odd shapes that I wouldn't necessarily think about. Like these masks over here at the edge, for instance, I made them long and narrow because I had this long and narrow space at the side where I'd filled up the page with other masks. So that kind of created these kind of really interesting long narrow shapes that I might not have made. I quite like this little weird one who's kind of like a lobster claw. I started doing this sideways, almost like a alligator, not, yeah, like an alligator mouth. And then I thought, oh, well, what if I turned that to the front and the mouth was sideways? So now I'm almost thinking of it like something kind of an insect. I've got a cool skeletal one here. I thought it'd be neat to put like an eyeball at the top of his horns. I was thinking of, I saw several African masks that were of animals that had, really separate looking mouth parts that were turned sideways and almost set on top of an oval. It's hard to describe, but long, narrow heads with kind of an oval mouth that projected outward. I thought that was really striking. So I tried to make one. And I don't know if you guys, I know like some of the cartoons and stuff from the 90s have become popular again. He reminds me of Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life, actually. So I think, gosh, they must have been looking at a similar sort of design mask, or maybe it's just complete coincidence. I don't know. The guy in the center, this is a Korok mask from Zelda. This is a variation on an African mask. I wanted to make it look kind of owl-like. I don't know. I was trying for like an oval shaped mask, like a longer, skinnier oval here because I had this oval space. And so I went with something kind of ant-like that had 3 eyes across. Again, like if you've never tried a page like this where you're filling the whole page and trying to fill all the gaps in, it can force you into some interesting situations where you make decisions that you wouldn't say normally make. I like my long-haired kind of princess mask with a heart face, a chicken with teeth, a lizard with a sort of fan around the back of his neck, like a, I don't know, there's probably some good lizard experts out there who know what kind of lizard I'm talking about that has this sort of fanned out projection frill behind its neck. This one was sort of based on an oceanic art design, like we saw the whales. They're from Native American people who live up toward Canada and Seattle area. I really love the sort of repeated pattern of thick, bold outlines in oceanic masks. This is kind of like that. Let's see, so I've got my bird with the trucker hat here, and I really, really like this bird. I think I'm going to do the bird as my final draft. I think he's very funny. I've got my little lamprey mouth guy here. He was kind of inspired by an earlier drawing in the sketchbook. There's that kind of lamprey mouth guy. Anyway. So yeah, there's a bunch of different mask designs. I don't know, this guy really calls to me too. I was thinking, some of these, like the little lines, like it's too small. You couldn't make something that small in ceramic. I was thinking maybe of adding fringe around the edges of that. Maybe something that stuck out, like wire around the edges here, that would give like just a dramatic line. Let's see what else we have. I'm thinking that I am going to go with the bird design. And this is what I think would be useful for you guys to do. So you definitely are going to want to make a page. Sorry. You're going to want to make a page of just different ideas. So you consider these rough drafts, right? Once you got your rough drafts, maybe identify one or two that you want to explore further. And this is what I mean by explore further. You're going to want to make a page just dedicated to that mask. So you definitely, since you're making this in 3 dimensions, you want to give a side view and a frontal view. You can choose to give any other view that you think might be helpful. I did a cutaway view here because I wanted to kind of think through how I am going to make this mask. I know that I don't want to have any clay that's thicker than my thumb. If you're doing, paper mache, it's, a little easier on you. You don't have that thickness issue. If you do make something very thick, it will take longer to dry. But you don't necessarily have to make your form hollow to do paper mache. But with clay, we have to make hollow forms. So I've got half circle mold type thing. So I think I'm going to make a flat piece of clay and drape that over the half circle mold, cut away and add clay for the beak. And I'm going to cut away the top of the head, and I am going to add the hat. So this whole inside part is going to be hollow. Something like this cutaway can be really helpful for thinking through how are you going to make this form and keep it to only 1 inch thickness of clay. The clay, that we get, that we're going to use, we're going to go ahead and make it into slabs. So it's going to be pretty firm slabs that you can mold around, like to make it a something like a cone is very doable as long as you don't get your clay too wet. You could also come up with some way to support it from the inside while it dries. You could add like a little piece of paper. Like I could have my circle mask and, tape onto it like a piece of maybe cardboard or construction paper, add to it the shape of my beak and just kind of drape the clay over the whole thing carefully. Let's see what else we have here. Down at the bottom, I've got my frontal view. And of course, classic trucker hat in my mind was John Deere. But I really, from this drawing, discovered that I'm not really great at drawing trucker caps, and I needed some reference. So I found some reference for the second one. I also thought his face was kind of messed up because I pulled the beak downward. And actually, when you're looking at the beak from the front, it's going to be kind of like a circle. And the eyes are going to be pushed way to the side of the head because they're on the side of the head up here. So this is my second version of what it would look like from the front. I think I prefer the way it looks from the side. But, this at least gives me an idea of what I'm going to be looking at when I'm looking straight down at my artwork as well. It's helpful to me. I came up with a better idea for the slogan across the trucker hat. I kind of feel like the slogan that runs across this trucker hat is going to be very important. Again, remember, you're going to need an idea or a concept of a purpose for your mask. It doesn't mean that you actually literally have to use it for that purpose, but you want to design it with a purpose in mind. My idea is this bird with a trucker cap. And I came up with this idea because my husband feeds birds. He has this daily thing where he goes out and feeds the bird feeder, fills up the hummingbird feeders, cleans out the bird baths. So he goes and takes care of the birds. As soon as he goes outside, of course, the birds fly away. So I thought, wow, he could really use a mask that would make the birds trust him and his daily ritual of feeding the birds. Of course, this is not going to work. The birds are not going to fall for this. But I thought it was kind of, the sort of magical thinking that is embodied by, lots of mask making. So for my cultural purpose, or my purpose, my mask is going to be to disguise the person as a bird so that the birds trust him. It's also kind of tongue-in-cheek because we know this is not going to work. So I've got the little trucker hat on it with the logo, trust me. but that's my purpose that I'm going to write down for this mask. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of a joke, you know, which is fine. But I have come up with an idea for what this mask represents and what kind of purpose it would serve. Ultimately, it's going to really serve as decoration on my wall. I wanted to make something, you know, that I can hang on the wall. And the mold I'm going to use indeed is going to be a little bit too small for a human head. But nevertheless, that's my concept behind this design. If I made it, you know, at a larger size, I could possibly make it so someone could wear it. Again, we're not really, you know, thinking we're going to fool the birds here, but as an idea, it works and gives you an idea of how this might represent a cultural purpose, or how you might come up with a cultural purpose for your mask. If you're really struggling, you know, look at the mask that inspired you and think about how you might, you know, reference those masks. Really, you want to take some time for this aspect of the project, coming up with a cultural purpose for your mask, because it's something that you will have to justify in writing when you turn in your work. And, you know, it's a good way for you to make a connection to the historical artworks we were looking at and think through, you know, how is that relevant in our time? How might you make a connection from our time to what they have done historically with masks to connect them to cultural relevance? Okay, well, I will look forward to seeing your mask designs. I do want you to come up with, you know, several pages of quick sketches like this. If you want to put them together like I've done here on one page, you can. I was able with one page, you know, to come up with some ideas I liked, but I did put, you can see there's quite a few masks here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 different mask designs on this page. So, you know, come up with a good full page. You can spread it out on several pages. Just really, you know, challenge yourself to come up with a lot of potential designs. They don't have to be big. Again, this is like, you can see the size of my thumb. It is not very large at all, okay? When you've decided on one that you really like, I do want you to go through this exercise of trying out a bunch of them, okay? But when you've decided on one that you really like, you want to do a detail page on that. Write down, you know, the concept behind your mask, what kind of cultural purpose it serves. You want to do a side view and a front view. You might need to practice a little bit, you know, like I did here with my trucker cap. It would be really helpful to think through a cutaway view and how you're going to construct it from the clay, or, you know, if you're at home, how you're going to construct it from the paper mache, what it will look like on the inside. This can be really helpful. If you need help with this part, please talk to me. I'm happy to help you think through it. Okay? I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.